Welcome to the fourth layer of the Opticon card deck. This is what I will call the Psychic layer. I've already shown you the basic layer, the fluent layer and the advanced layer. In the Psychic layer, it is highly dependent on your beliefs, that you believe there are dimensions that are beyond the 5 physical senses, and I would like to suggest that you're already somewhat familiar with the psychic layers of your being. You could just be dabbling, you could be a full-blown psychic, it does not matter. But you have to allow yourself to receive impressions from dimensions beyond what the cards say, beyond what the 5 senses can pick up. So you have to really have access to an imagination, you have to be balanced, and of course kindness should be a part of what you're about. If you're doing a reading for another person, they have to have given you permission, otherwise the deck will not work for the reading. Or if you're just doing it for yourself, you're obviously going to be able to do this in a detached way, because if you're really emotionally pent up or in a bad place, it is a very difficult thing to try and tap in accurately psychically. But what the psychic layer really means is that as you look at the pictures and as you see the cards that have been chosen for you, you start to look a little bit deeper. You go a little bit beyond the fear, a little bit beyond the discomfort, the anxiety, the depression. You've got to move past all those emotions and be open. And sometimes you will simply have a flash come through from when you were younger. Now the flash comes through not so that you go and focus on that memory. It's just telling you that perhaps a little bit of your energy is caught up way back then, and this is your opportunity to free yourself from that anchor that is holding you there. Perhaps it's even a part of why you're finding yourself in the situation that you're finding yourself. Sometimes past or parallel lives have touches of what we need, and the awareness and the ability to be able to tune in and gain perspectives that are so subtle and so whispered. This is the layer that is dependent upon that ability. So if you're really focused on just the images, just the words at the top, or just the sayings at the bottom, then that won't allow you to go and pick up the more subtle layers. Of course, if you're doing a reading for someone else, you will tune in and you'll start to receive impressions that may not even be on the cards. Now this takes a great deal of courage. It also takes a lot of self-trust. And the self-trust is not a trust in the little you who's got an education, a schooling, has a background, has a past. I'm talking about a trust where you are connected to your higher self, to the infinite intelligence, to God, to what you name it. And when you're being connected, well, you're starting to listen, you're starting to receive impressions from that person who you're doing the reading, their higher self, their God, right? And you receive impressions for them. So of course, here, needing courage, you would have to then start to reveal some of these impressions that you're receiving to the person so that they can hear what you're seeing and so that they can agree or not. Now, they may not agree. You know, when the conscious mind is involved, the ego likes to shut out a whole lot of things that don't really work for it, especially if it's negatively geared. So sometimes what you say won't meet their agreement. However, even if they don't, the cards, the imagery, and the words speak for themselves. So you have to trust yourself more than you trust their agreement, because your subtle senses don't lie. All right? And you're always going to tune into a person from the level they're at. So whatever they're thinking about, the state of being they're in, where they're at that very moment that you do the reading is what you're going to tune into. Under no circumstances do you tune into someone today and expect that they're exactly that same person tomorrow. You have to allow it for a person to change all the time. So a person can have a deck reading, ask a question with you now, come back an hour later having gone through a catapult of thought, and you could do that same spread again and they'll have different cards because they've changed and already within 1 hour they're a completely different person. So please bear in mind that nothing's ever written in stone. Have fun with the psychic layer, have fun with the impressions, and just allow it to flow and trust yourself, trust your connection, and the decks will be using you as a catalyst to help others too. Enjoy this. Speak soon.